Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant, and today I'm sharing this card featuring the new The Dog's Woof stamp set from Mama Elephant, part of the January 2018 release. I love this stamp set. It is very much in the style of the snowmen and the cats that they have already previously released. It's this big, bold border that is fantastic for creating all kinds of fun cards. I am going to stamp the border and one of these single dog images, as well as some of the signs and greetings from the stamp set on some smooth white cardstock using ONYX black VersaFine ink. What I'm wanting to do today is to create a popped up border against an inked and stenciled background so that it looks like all these little dogs are hanging out along the bottom edge of the card with their little picket signs, and then we'll have a little dog popping in from the top of the card and a greeting stamped with the occasional labels stamp set. This is finally available for individual purchase. So excited. I love this greeting stamp set. I went ahead and stamped a greeting for this at the same time that I stamped my images. I am using VersaFine ONYX black ink because I'm going to be doing some coloring with my Polychromos colored pencils. I love, love, love colored pencil coloring. I've fallen back in love with it since getting the Polychromos. They are amazing because they are oil-based rather than wax. So you're not going to get that buildup on the black stamped outline when you color over lines, things like that, which I absolutely love. I am customizing all of these little signs from the dog's woof with the little sentiments from the stamp set. One says woof, one says arf, and one says hello, as well as the little dog bone. Now, for my video purposes, I actually stamped 4 and ended up stamping a 5th. As I started to put the card together, I realized I like odd numbers better than even, and I felt like I really needed 5 of the signs to go along the edge, which you'll see as we get to that point. Lots and lots of coloring here. I did speed up the video a little bit to save some time, but I did leave in the coloring simply so those of you who enjoy the coloring, enjoy seeing how it all kind of comes together. I know I definitely love that process as well. I left it in so that you can see how exactly I came about this little border here. I think it would be fun to definitely do some non-traditional colors. I, however, did stick with very traditional neutrals for my dogs. Lots of browns, grays, blacks, a little kind of yellowy mustard colors. But I like to color in my darkest color first, or go back with my darkest color and really blend that in a little bit, or shade that in more, and then blend out with GAMSOL and a stump pencil. Especially on white cardstock like this, it looks amazing. You can see the pencil lines when I initially lay down the color, and it's really kind of messy. In order to avoid using a really heavy hand, which would definitely give me a nice smoother look, I tend to like to blend out with GAMSOL. I can just kind of scribble the color in place where I want it and then blend and blend. The thing about these colored pencils is they look amazing blended out. Very much, to me, gives me the same feeling, the same happy factor of coloring as with Copics, because they just look so beautiful blended out. I am not worrying about the bottom edge. In fact, I want it to kind of not go all the way down to the bottom. I want it to be kind of have that white imperfect edge, which you'll see when I die cut this whole border. I skipped around quite a bit, pulling in some red for tongues and the heart on the envelope. Otherwise, any other accessories in this card, the dog's collar, hats, bandanas, the envelope, a ball are all going to be in pink. I did that very purposely. I kind of left that part for a little bit. In fact, I started coloring the dogs and left a lot of that until I determined kind of in my mind as I was coloring what I wanted to do for the background. And I decided to go with some pink, a very light pink for that, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And so I wanted to tie in my pink background with pink accents on these dogs, especially with so many neutrals. I really felt that that would be the most successful and it would tie everything together in my card. Now for white, it's a little hard to get white and still get some nice shading. So I simply added a little light gray, and then I even went back with a little darker gray and blended it out with GAMSOL and the stump pencil to get that look of white, but not. Very similar for me in technique as Copic coloring, just because you don't want to add too much color, but you still want it to have the nice shading like the rest of the images. Now I like to clean my stump pencil off with just by a little more GAMSOL, and then I usually rub it off of the edge of the paper, or I also use sandpaper that came with my kit, and I will just clean off or sand away the used part of the stump pencil so that I have a clean area to color with. For a lot of the brown areas, I did not worry too much if the pencil was all the way clean. I almost liked where I'd get a little bit of transfer because it's all neutrals and everything was pretty similar. But for pinks and reds, I definitely did not want to get any brown in there. I do use both tips of my stump pencil for that. And the light gray, that's another example. I don't really want any yellows or browns kind of coming through there. So I'm going to use my sandpaper to clean the tip of my pencil. So it's only this really nice light gray. Just a little more coloring here. This is definitely not going to be an image that you have colored in a few minutes. It is a big image. There's lots of dogs. Depending on how involved you get with your coloring, this will be an image that takes just a little bit to color. I would say from start to finish, even with the coloring, I think the coloring took a good hour. And I had several interruptions, but I would say an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes to finish up this card, maybe even 2 hours, just depending. But once it's colored, everything else is super easy. A lot of times if I'm creating a card where one element of the design is labor intensive, I try to make the rest of it not so much. So the coloring definitely is the labor intensive part for a card like this because there's so much coloring. So for my background, I kept it simple with really easy ink blending, a little stenciling just to kind of make it a little bit more special, a simple greeting, which I've already stamped. I'm just going to need to cut that out and add it to my card. And from there, I'm going to add finishing touches with white and black pens, with glossy accents, and that is it. So that really helps cut down on the creation time by making a part of the card easy or more simple, I guess I want to say, than this part. And this is definitely not hard, just labor intensive. But coloring can be so super relaxing. I love to do this maybe if I'm watching a show, watching Netflix, listening to an audiobook or music, just something that helps pass the time. Just sit down and color to your heart's content. So we got just a few more things here. The signs all in shades of pink and red. Now I originally kind of did this one. It had a lot of pink and red. I wasn't so sure I liked that, so I kept the others a little bit more simple. And I did stamp those top hats, and I opted to not use them for my card today. Once I got to the part where I was ready to die cut and kind of start thinking about getting the card put together, I realized I just didn't think they fit with my design. So I can save those. I can just kind of cut those out, die cut them, put them in the stamp envelope pocket or just a little scrap file, and they will be available at another time, and I can use them for another card. For the background, I'm using Worn Lipstick Distress Oxide ink, applying it to Bristol Smooth cardstock. I don't have to go all the way down to the bottom of the panel since this is a pretty wide border. I did die cut everything, trim up my greeting using the dog's Woof dies and then just a paper trimmer for that occasional label. And I want to get a nice kind of ombre effect of dark to very light. Even though this is kind of the more simple part of the card creation, I want it to tie in and look nice. And one of my favorite things to do is kind of that ombre effect. Now, that is beautiful as is. I could totally put my card together right now, but I thought it would be fun to take this Hearts stencil from the Honeybee Stamps Fall Showers stencil collection and stencil over it, doing a tone-on-tone of these hearts. It's going to be very subtle, but that's definitely what I'm going for here. Again, concentrating the darkest part of the ink on the darkest part of the background and lightening that as we get towards the top of the panel. Once I have this all inked up and there are my hearts, I'm going to go ahead and put some foam adhesive tape on the back of the dog's Woof panel. The thing about these borders in all three stamp sets from Mama Elephant is they are slightly wider than a standard A2 sized card base. So I will need to trim off a little bit, but I like to trim mine after I've adhered it to the background. I don't want to accidentally cut too much off, and I want this to be a full card panel, meaning that it's not going to look like it's framed up or matted at all. It's going to cover the entire front of my card base. I've got my foam adhesive here. We'll peel off the backing and then pop this onto the card, and I'm going to center it and then flip the panel over, and using some long Tonic scissors, I'm going to just trim off that excess so that that is not hanging off the edge of my card. There is my border, all in place with all those little falling hearts coming down from the top, and I'm ready to take some foam adhesive squares and pop my little picket signs in place along the border. And I want to kind of just fill in all along here. And I love this. I'm a dog lover, so I was so super excited that Mama Elephant came out with a dog version of this really popular design. The cats were first, and I loved them, but I have been waiting impatiently for the dogs. I just think these are phenomenal. All of these stamps are just really super cutting edge and fun. Really great. If you love to color, these are just fantastic. And I have seen these used in so many fantastic ways. Even if you don't want to color all of them, lots of great ways to use these. I placed foam adhesive on the back of my occasional label greeting and popped that right there in the upper third of the card. I also want to use a foam adhesive square to attach the little single dog hanging down, coming in from the top. And I want him to hold on to a little dog bone. So kind of off camera, I stamped an additional dog bone. I stamped an additional sign, and I'm going to pop those in place. I'm going to go ahead and add my glossy accents to the card. This is one of those finishing touches I was talking about. But in the finished design, there will be a little dog bone that the dog hanging down from the top is holding, and 5 signs along the border. The signs, the noses on the dogs, the dog collar, the tongues, I'm all coating with a layer of glossy accents. This is going to give them a nice, shiny, raised finish that really completes the look and makes it look so beautiful. Is a great finishing detail. The little eyeglass piece, we're going to put some glossy accents on that as well. A fine tip applicator on glossy accents makes it so easy to perfectly place this liquid right where you want it. I could not do it without my fine tip applicator at all. I'm going to attach this to a white side fold card base. Here is my little dog bone that this little guy is holding. And I just need to add a tiny touch of color. I'm not even going to blend it out with a light gray pencil. And again, finish off that sign with glossy accents. I'm going to set that aside to completely dry. I did go ahead and take a black jelly roll pen. I probably should have done this before adding the glossy accents. I say this all the time. It's one of those things I tend to like to, I guess, live dangerously and hope I don't get my hand in that glossy accents. But I want to go over all the eyes on the dogs with my black jelly roll pen. It really helps them pop, I think. Makes a huge difference. Just quickly covering all of their eyes. And I'll even take a white opaque pen and add some little dots to different areas on the dogs, their faces, cheeks. I decided not to do it on all of the dogs and kind of just picked and chose which ones. I thought it might be a little too much if I did it on all of them. So instead, I'm just going to do it here and there on a few. Once I have this all done, I attach this to a white top fold card base. My card featuring the Mama Elephant January 2018 release, the Dog's Woof stamp set and coordinating dies is all finished. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing some of the latest stamps and dies from Mama Elephant January 2018. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.